Yo, I'm PMJ, and have you ever had a bad idea? Yeah.
Nintendo! The most iconic gaming company of all time, owning series like Mario, The Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, and many more recognizable series. And over all the years that they've been making games, they've managed to get themselves one of the greatest reputations as a game developer, no matter how much they try to lose it. The Blue Ocean Strategy, an analogy in business to describe the wider, deeper potential to be found in unexplored market spaces. Basically, just trying to reach customers who would have never considered your product before. This is the idea behind all of those odd ideas that Nintendo has every couple of years. After Nintendo was starting to fall behind the rest of the gaming industry back during the GameCube era, they came to the conclusion that just trying to keep up with the rest of the gaming industry was not an effective strategy for them. For whatever reason, people didn't want to buy their cube with coasters. So they decided to try a new strategy: domestic violence. The Wii was Nintendo's first Blue Ocean strategy-based system, and for some fucking reason it worked. They would grab every grandma under the sun and sell 100 million systems. And as we all know, this would change the way Nintendo would function forever. After the success of the Wii, they wanted so desperately to replicate this success again. People like 3D movies? We'll add a useless mechanic to our handheld. People like jokes? We'll make the Wii U. They would continue to try weird ideas to varying success ever since the Wii got so popular. They became a drug addict trying to chase that high of making money on the dumbest idea. This would of course go on until the Nintendo Switch released in 2017. Nintendo finally had what was universally considered a good idea: a hybrid home and portable console, but they just couldn't help themselves. They added the Joy-Cons to the system, and they would be packed full of fancy technology, probably just so Miyamoto could see enough random innovations to give his stamp of approval. It had HD rumble, something that many developers were able to understand well enough to be integrated into multiple games. Just rumble, but there's more that you can do with it. And the idea that you could use them as sideways controllers was pretty easy to understand as well. But the IR sensor was something that nobody knew what to do with. The IR sensor is this patch of dead skin at the bottom of the Joy-Con that can detect basic things using IR technology. What ideas is anyone supposed to have with this? It can detect whether something is there or not in basic shapes.
Nobody seems to care when I recognize that there are two large circles in front of me.
So it wasn't seeing much use early on, but Nintendo still had this super interesting controller on their hands, and they would be ready to use it in future Blue Ocean endeavors. So they made 3 major attempts to make games that were designed to both sell the Joy-Cons and reach the Blue Ocean market: 1-2 Switch, Nintendo Labo, and Ring Fit Adventure. While there were other games that would use the Joy-Con in interesting ways, they were clearly meant more to be games, while these games are clearly meant to be a Blue Ocean strategy attempt. Their goal was to get Grandma to put a Switch right next to her Wii. And with Nintendo trying again, I figured it'd be as good a time as any to take a look at these to figure out what worked and what didn't, and figure out which one did it best.
Did Nintendo manage to figure something out to really pull in the Blue Ocean all 3 times? Or is 1-2 Switch dog shit?
Let's go over all of the games. We'll start with Ring Fit Adventure, seeing as it was probably the most successful and made the most sense. Ring Fit Adventure was a game that was designed to get gamers up and moving. I don't own it. This was clearly an attempt to emulate the success of Wii Fit back during the Wii days. Wii Fit was one of the best ways that Nintendo sold the Wii to the casual market, selling 22 million units to overweight Wii owners. And it's pretty easy to deduce that these copies were not bought by the hardcore gamers and were primarily sold to casuals who all got stuck with the worst doormat I've ever used. And Nintendo has other history with exercise-based games doing great with Pokemon Go. So Nintendo decided to try to emulate this on the Switch with a whole new idea. So they created Ring Fit Adventure. Ring Fit revolves around the ring and a leg strap. The leg strap is just there to track your leg movements, and the ring is a particularly resilient piece of plastic that can be squeezed and pulled. It's not a super versatile set of movements that can be done with this, but who am I to talk? It's enough for the game though, and the ring actually does have a pretty varied moveset despite its simplicity. However, just doing Wii Fit again probably wouldn't work, and they do realize this. So they differentiate this from Wii Fit by implementing a full campaign for the game. Wii Fit just had basic minigames, so it can be difficult to find motivation to keep going with the game. But this game rewards you for working out by letting you see a jacked demon. It's a full campaign with tons of levels, various challenges, and enemies to be conquered by the ring. The challenges aren't insanely interesting, but the point is obviously to be good at squats, not good at playing video games. but the game is still entertaining enough to keep you jogging in place for a pretty long time, made clear by the game selling over 15 million copies. So Nintendo clearly still has the ability to pull in the masses and have these odd ideas work, but do they have any grasp over this ability and why it works?
Do I have any chance of getting over my porn addiction?
By far the most unexpected of these three games is Nintendo Labo. Nintendo Labo is made up of 4 kits consisting of varying numbers of cardboard pieces for a total of 10 cardboard things called Toy-Cons. As terrible as that name is, it is an initially interesting concept. First of all, it is in a way Nintendo's form of Legos, since most of these sets will take a long time to make and will feel pretty good once you finish creating them. And these complicated sets of cardboard are able to run interesting games, all thanks to the amazing technology in the Joy-Cons. It uses them so efficiently that I'm pretty sure a large reason Nintendo made this was to show off the potential of the Joy-Cons technology so other companies will try to use the controller in interesting ways in their games. It didn't work, so it wasn't able to fulfill that part of its mission, but it can still be an interesting concept that can get people excited. Let's go over all of the Toy-Cons to get an idea of what they were trying to pull people in with. So, every Nintendo Labo Toy-Con ranked. How are we ranking them? Arbitrarily. Here we go. Submarine steering. We all know submarines are controlled with Logitech controllers. House, teasing me with something I'll never have. Car wheel, inaccurate to real-life car steering. Motorcycle, is not good at getting me a girlfriend. Toy piano, I hate band kids. Plane steering, mildly phallic, I giggled. VR, eye strain and arm strain. Vibration car, is trying his best. Fishing, very good at getting me a girlfriend. Robot, I have to have sex in this. Alright, now that we have an understanding of all the Toy-Cons, did any of them sound interesting to you? I'd be willing to bet for most people that none of these Toy-Cons sounded super interesting, especially within the context of the kits. The one that is probably the most interesting off the bat is the Robot Toy-Con to blend in when the AI rises up, but this one is its own kit with none of the other Toy-Cons, making this feel like more of a ripoff. The Variety Kit seems like the best deal since there's 5 Toy-Cons, but none of them are very interesting on their own. They're all basic one-note gimmicks that you'd never play again. And Vehicle Kit has the same problem, but this time there's already driving stuff in the Variety Kit. And the VR could have been good, but he was never able to realize his potential. But there was one aspect that no matter how unappealing the rest of Labo seems, kept it at least somewhat appealing. The Toy-Con Garage. The Toy-Con Garage is essentially a programming language baked into the Switch. To any nerd, it is immediately clear how awesome this is. It's an easy way to learn the basics of programming early on in childhood, which is great for any kids who were unfortunate enough to have this. This would eventually inspire the Game Builder Garage, a full game building application that has full lessons to teach you how to make games, which took away the only thing that kept Labo interesting. And now, Nintendo Labo is entirely obsolete and Nintendo fans' floors are kept clean. Shit. And while I can't find sales numbers for Labo other than the Variety Kit sold at least 1 million units, I think it's pretty clear that Nintendo just failed to understand what they need to appeal to a blue ocean crowd, and Labo failed. While Labo is an interesting concept, it just doesn't sell. It doesn't work as a Lego knockoff because for one, Lego has recognizable properties to get people to buy it, and 2, cardboard just feels worse as a building material because building things with solid blocks feels way more secure. The cool IR stuff could be enough to make people buy it if the games were fun. All of these games are just way too basic on their own. If they had full games to go alongside them, then maybe people would buy them. But when I can watch a video and get the point of the fishing minigame in 30 seconds, I'm not going to buy it. And with Game Builder Garage taking away the interesting coding aspect, there's no reason to buy it. So Nintendo Labo failed, even if it was an interesting idea. But hey, they were clearly on the right track. Maybe they can still figure out how to get a blue ocean to buy the Switch.
I don't think there's a chance.
What the fuck is this? 1-2 Switch. 1-2 Switch, in a similar vein to Nintendo Labo, is meant to show off what the Joy-Cons can do. But this time, they were going for more of a Wii Sports or Nintendo Land type of showcase. A pack-in title for the system that gives you a quick demo of the console, but also gives you tons of fun activities to do with your new system that you may not have any games for yet. It's not a pack-in title. It's $50 goddamn dollars. This just shows how out of touch Nintendo can be sometimes. The reason that Wii Sports was such a memorable phenomenon was because it was a pack-in title that was easy to understand and made the console look fun. This accomplishes none of that. First of all, it wasn't a pack-in title, so nobody bought it. Second of all, it wasn't always easy to understand because the point of the game is inherently flawed. The game is built on the idea that the game does not take place on the screen, but between the 2 players as they face each other.
I have no idea what's going on.
It's a fine concept, but it just causes confusion. The way games prevent confusion as to what's going on is by explaining to people what's going on the screen, which is the most basic level of game design. And while these games are simple, you still end up confused from time to time. And while there are some where you don't have to face each other, there's still plenty of times where Nintendo just gets too ambitious with the controls and thinks that simulating shaving a face with your face is a good idea. And finally, it doesn't make the console seem fun. Most of these games look stupid, and they're all completely one-dimensional. Wii Sports doesn't have any particularly complex games either, but there is at minimum a single layer of complexity. Very few of these games have a strategy beyond be better at the very simple action than your friend. There are a couple where you have to outsmart your friend, but it still isn't to a point of being fun like an average Wii Sports game. You get none of the benefits of Wii Sports for $50. So Nintendo failed yet again. That's what these 3 Blue Ocean ideas for the Nintendo Switch look like. Mostly shit. While Ring Fit did well, it was a safe bet. Nintendo's exercise games have always done well. But Labo and 1-2 Switch failed for numerous reasons. Nintendo just doesn't have these exciting new ideas that they used to. It's not really their fault though. It's difficult to have ideas that catch on in our modern world that is so saturated with entertainment. They definitely won't stop though. They will have a million more shit ideas that have no place existing on any video game console, and for some reason, I probably still won't buy them. I may be a Nintendo fan, but I still get tired of their bullshit. But I guess I still said I'd rank the bullshit, so the clear order for this is Ring Fit was the best idea, Labo is second worst, and 1-2 Switch should think about what it's done.
A large part of me wishes Nintendo would give up on these things. There just really isn't space in the market for an idea like this to work in the modern day. But for whatever reason, Nintendo keeps doing it, and if that's what they want to do, nothing we can do about it. But if Nintendo can keep making self-destructive decisions and get away with it, maybe my addiction isn't so bad.